WUTK 90.3 FM in Knoxville, Tennessee.
It's Monday, time for Rock Solid Sports.
That ball hits sky high into right field. Going back to the benches, Wallace. Yes, sir! That ball is gone!
Sponsored by Cool Beans, a block off the strip on Lake Avenue.
To the checkerboards. Touchdown, Tennessee.
Rock Solid Sports, the only show with a home field advantage for UT Athletics. Here's tonight's host.
All right, everybody. Welcome into the Monday edition of Rock Solid Sports right here on 90.3 The Rock. We got a fun show planned for you guys this evening. But first, I'm going to introduce my cast. I'm your host, Jack Foster. Right to the left of me, I got Joseph Bonanno. Across the glass, I got my guy, Riley Haltom. And at our generous sponsor, Cool Beans, we got Bryson Wright. I'm going to kick it over to him. But first, I want to tell you guys that the Rock Solid Sports Monday night show is sponsored by Cool Beans, the 21 and up college sports pub next to campus at 1817 Lake Avenue, a block off the strip. Cool Beans has 25 rotating beer taps and bottles, HD TVs, darts, pool, and arcade games. Open every day at 11 a.m. with burgers, wings, and sandwiches for dine-in or takeout with ball card accepted. More on Instagram at KnoxCoolBeans or at CoolBeansBar.com. So without further ado, Bryson, how we doing, buddy?
Bryson, you got us?
Well, while Bryson sorts out some technical difficulties, let's go ahead and start talking some Tennessee, Florida right here on Rock Solid Sports. Riley, buddy, you know, it's a Tennessee win. First Tennessee win over Florida since 2016. It's the first 4-0 start for the Volunteers since 2016. Everything is looking right for Tennessee right now. They're ranked inside the top 10 for the first time since 2016. I mean, safe to say this is the best start in 6 years for the Volunteer program.
Yeah, no question. I think there's a lot of excitement on Rocky Top and around this program, and you could feel it on game day. You know, Vol Nation came out here and supported big time. They were out here, 30 deep on the Vol walk on each side, and you could just feel it all the way. Checkered Neyland, crowd was into it for the entire game, all 4 quarters. I mean, it was the environment was electric, as Josh Heupel put it in the post game presser, and he gave a lot of props to the crowd because they deserved it. They were there the entire game, made it really difficult on those big 3rd and 4th downs for the Florida offense. So it was quite the incredible experience to be there on that night. It was really exciting.
Incredible experience it was, and we'll continue talking about that, but I think we got our man Bryson over at Cool Beans. Bryson, how's it going, my friend? Well, evidently not.
All right.
We'll get him sorted out.
We're going to try to get that back, but, I'll jump in here on the Tennessee talk. I'm going to... Actually, Bryson, can you hear us now?
Fox is fixed.
Yes.
There he is. We
There
got
we
him.
go. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
All right. What's up, guys? How are you?
Very good. How are you, buddy? How's Cool Beans?
I'm doing good. Cool Beans is awesome as always. I heard Ryan talking about the atmosphere in the stadium, and I think Cool Beans is the perfect place to go after Tennessee does. So I think it was walking in and walking out. Everybody's ready for Monday Night Football, and very excited for everything that's going on here at Cool Beans. Good drink, good food, good time, and yeah, it's awesome out here at Cool Beans.
Absolutely, Bryson. And good times were had for the Vols football team this past weekend, as we've already kind of mentioned, Riley. But it wasn't all easy. You got off to a little uneasy start against Florida. They take the lead. Anthony Richardson throws his first touchdown pass of the season. Then Tennessee gets out to a pretty sizable lead, 38-21. You think the Vols are in main control. And then the ending of the fourth quarter hits, and they scored 12 points, and they get the onside down 5, and you're like, wait, what is happening?
Yeah, in this game, Tennessee really did a really good job, limiting what was most dangerous about Anthony Richardson, and that was his legs. He did make a couple big plays with his legs at points, but I think for overall the entire game, they were able to pretty much, they used a zone. They played a lot of zone because they were playing a QB spy. I mean, you play QB spy, you got to go zone, and you're going to give up those yards, which we saw Florida was finding a lot of cushions in that Tennessee secondary, and especially on third and fourth down. I mean, 4 for 5 on fourth down. Not something that's ideal if you're Tennessee defense, but 456 yards through the air for Anthony Richardson. I mean, yeah, they gave up the yards, but my biggest takeaway from this game, and I wrote this in my post game or my recap of the game, was the biggest takeaway is that not that Tennessee let Florida get back into it. It's not that the secondary had a poor day on a quarterback that hasn't proved themselves. It's the fact that Tennessee beat Florida because they got over the mental hump. So you can say all these bad things, that you can point out all these bad things, what Tennessee did, but honestly, that's none of our jobs as the media. That's the coach's job. Our job is to say, what did Tennessee do? They beat Florida. They did something they haven't done in 6 years, something they've only done twice now in the last 18. Mm-hmm. I mean, the accomplishment is there. And yeah, Tennessee didn't look good at times. Their defense is probably one of the weakest defenses out of the top 4 teams in the SEC. But it doesn't matter because they keep on winning.
Right.
And if you keep on winning, guess what? You're going to get the national recognition, and that's why Tennessee is a consistent top 10 team today.
And the biggest reason they won on Saturday evening was because of quarterback Hendon Hooker. 22 of 28, 349 yards and 2 touchdown passes. He had 13 carries for 112 yards and an additional touchdown. This is arguably, I think it is his best performance in a game. It's the most total yards he's ever combined for in orange and white in a single game. And guys, he just put the team on his back when it needed to be. And I mean, the 99-yard drive speaks for itself.
Yeah, absolutely. It was it was an astonishing performance from Hendon Hooker. He did it all. He made plays through the air when it was available. If that wasn't available, he was able to make it happen with his legs, and that's what you need out of a quarterback, especially in this type of offense. So fast, and he played with a lot of grit. There were several times where, on the broadcast they were commenting that, he looks like he's hurt and he's wincing in pain and stuff. But
yeah, the non-throwing shoulder he had
right
there at the end of the first half,
and the entire time he was still, he would go out there and he'd lower his shoulder if he's running the ball. So yeah, nonstop, lot of grit from Hendon Hooker, and some people would call what he did on Saturday a Heisman performance.
People are calling it that. Exactly. Precisely.
Exactly.
That is the hype going around right now. And RG3 really jump-started that whole thing. But before we get into that, Bryson, are you with us?
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that I definitely agree with the Hendon Hooker stuff. I think the Hendon Hooker, I think he's 4th in Heisman odds now. And I think if Tennessee keeps winning games and if he continues to play like he did on Saturday, I don't think there's a question that he could definitely be in the Heisman conversation going forward. But yeah, and I agree with you, Jack. I do think that's his biggest performance, not just because of the numbers he put up, but because you're playing Florida and how big of a game that is and how important it is at Tennessee for you to finally beat Florida after all these years. Like you said, only beating them once in the last 17 years. So it's one of those things where if you can show up and perform in a big game like that, that's what makes the fans and everybody around Tennessee, they're going to remember Hendon Hooker for this performance.
Yeah, and, you go look back at that game and you think, well, obviously Hendon Hooker had the big day and stuff, but you can really remember some of the plays that Hooker made. Like, in my opinion, what was one of the best plays of the game, outside of probably the Ramel 50-yard catch down the sideline where he laid out and made it with his fingertip, it was in the second half. Tennessee, Florida had just scored, I believe Florida had just scored, and Tennessee was looking to try and answer back. And Houdini act from Hooker, pocket collapses on him, somehow escapes, finds a blocker in Princeton Fant, pushes him into a Florida defender, cuts with his right foot, plants his right foot, cuts towards the sideline, and dashes for 44 yards. And
shout out Brew McCoy on that play. He held that block for
Hooker
almost that entire time.
Was one really good tackle away. Vernell Miller, linebacker for Florida, injured himself on the play, making a great, spectacular, took a fantastic angle on Hendon Hooker, saved the touchdown. I mean, that could have completely changed the momentum of the game right there. I mean, it ended up doing it anyways because that play was huge.
Right.
But that's the type of things that Heisman candidates do. They make those types of plays, and they play on good teams. Hendon Hooker is doing that on a good team right now.
I mean, has Hendon Hooker made a legitimate case just off of these three games so far, or 4 games, to be the best quarterback in the SEC?
No, because
why not?
Because Bryce Young is still here.
How has he been better than Hendon Hooker?
I mean,
have you watched Bryce Young?
No, I have.
Bryce
He looks like a better quarterback.
Bryce Young he has the resume behind him. He has obviously all of last year. He's playing with Alabama, so that even bumps him up even higher than Hendon Hooker on Tennessee. But I think Hendon Hooker in the next 2 weeks, obviously they have a bye this weekend, and then they go to Death Valley, which they got a noon game, which is really big. We'll talk about that here in just a second. They got a noon game, but then you go and face off. Then it's going to be Hendon Hooker versus Bryce Young. If Hendon Hooker can, and that Tennessee offense can keep up with the Alabama offense, that's going to be the Heisman statement right there. Yeah, you beat Florida. Now go do it against Alabama.
I definitely think that's true. And I understand what you're saying, Jack, because if you look at Hendon's numbers, you can definitely make an argument that he's been the best. But I do think you do still have to take into account what Bryce Young did last year as well. So I think that he definitely does have a case, and I think he's firmly in second right now, which is nothing to be mad about, honestly. I mean, I think he's a top 5 quarterback in the country as well. We'll see how that keeps going forward. But I think that right now you can't really ask for more out of Hendon Hooker. Now, whether you rank him above other people is different, but like I said, the number one thing I care about is that he's winning games.
I mean, Bryce Young and Stetson Bennett are probably his only competition in the SEC right now.
Yeah, true. Look, guys, I don't think Hendon Hooker is better than Bryce Young. I really don't. Yeah. I'm just saying there is an argument there, I mean, and it's worth entertaining.
I mean,
absolutely, yeah.
I think that'll really come to light on the third Saturday of October.
Yep. October 15th. It's going to be a doozy. But look, we have so much time to talk about that. We have time to talk about LSU because there's a bye week this week. So let's focus on Florida still. Let's talk about Josh Heupel for a moment. We've talked about the product on the field enough. Just Josh Heupel, looking at his resume, he has 3 top 20 wins so far in his first 17 games coached. That's the most since Philip Fulmer did it in his first year in 1992. I mean, Josh Heupel's got this program in a fantastic place in such a short amount of time.
And you know what's even more encouraging about that?
They beat Florida
that
this early.
Look at who was at the game. You had 50-something recruits there.
Yeah.
5 stars, 4 stars, big in-state guys, big out-of-state guys. I mean, and you put on that kind of display in front of those. I mean, not only is what he's doing now incredible, but he's setting this program up to continue to be good and to be getting better as his years go along as coaching. And obviously, the more experience he has in the SEC, the better he's going to get, at least with in-game calls and stuff.
Just coaching against SEC teams.
Right. I'm so glad that all those recruits got to see Neyland Stadium in the state that it was for that Florida game. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, it was really a one-of-a-kind experience. You had to be there to feel it. And I feel like that's going to show up, come recruitment days when these recruits are signing on. I think that's going to show up. A game like this can really sway that type of decision to see the kind of love these Vol fans have for the team.
Yep, absolutely. And all the big recruits, as Joseph mentioned, from the 2023 class and 24 class already, like with Jonathan Eccles, were at the game. Nico was there. Sham Umarov was there. I mean, you name it, they were there.
Boo Carter was there. I know he was a really big one.
And he's a big one in the 24 class. It's not undecided. So.
No, and I just love that not only got to see Neyland in that state, but it was also a game where the offense played really well and they put up a good amount of points, and they showed that they can compete with the better teams in the SEC, which is not something that we haven't really seen yet from these teams. Like, obviously, beating Pitt this year, that was big, but that's still not a big top 25 SEC win. Yeah. This one, it was just completely different, and I think all of those recruits can finally kind of see that Tennessee is turning it around and they're going in the right direction, even though you saw the beginning of that last year. But after a game like this and the way that they've started the season, you can't deny it anymore. So I think if you're a recruit, that's something that's very appetizing to you.
Yeah, just an extremely loud too. Extremely loud stadium. Checker Neyland, 101,915 in the seats. We had college game day here. You can't name a better environment, and the recruits got to see that as well. Tennessee is 4-0 heading into the bye week, guys. I mean, they've looked good. They're the top 8. They're a top 8 team in the country, but what do they need to fine tune here in the bye week?
Get healthy. Obviously, not having Cedric Tillman down the line is going to hurt them. Their wide receiver core is good enough with Jalen Hyatt and Brew McCoy and Ramel Keaton,
I mean,
where you can go out there and compete, but you need Cedric Tillman back.
He's a game changer.
He is a game changer. You take, we've kind of talked about this before. You take Brew McCoy and Jalen Hyatt, and you kind of put them into one, and you got Cedric Tillman there.
Yeah, Tillman's faster and he's big and physical.
They have an incredible balance at wide receiver. I legit think it's the best wide receiver core in the SEC. With Cedric Tillman healthy, it's the best. So number one, get healthy. Hendon Hooker's going to have a week to recover from whatever shoulder injury he got banged up in against the Gators on Saturday. So that's number one. Number two is don't look too far ahead. You have a really tough matchup against LSU coming up. You got to prepare for that. Death Valley, even at noon, is still no joke.
Riley?
Right. So yeah. I would say going into this bye week, you really need to look at certain times the offense just kind of goes stagnant. And you need to look when Hendon Hooker is not completely putting it on his back. You need to find ways to establish the run earlier. I think that's one thing that the Vols have struggled with at times, especially this season. And having Jabari Small back is going to help. And that goes into what Joseph said: get healthier.
Yeah.
But finding ways to establish that run earlier on in the game, it can be a major game changer for this Vols team, in my opinion, because you get that run game established, it opens up those receivers to make those big plays. When Cedric Tillman comes back, I think establishing the run is something that is the Vols' biggest weakness, particularly on offense. It can really elevate them, in my opinion.
No, I totally agree. And, Jabari Small will get healthier. And Florida did a pretty good job of just, containing those running backs. Jabari Small had a fine day, but Jalen Wright didn't. And I think Tennessee just leaned on Hendon Hooker. And I feel like Hendon Hooker just had the mentality of, I'm going to do it myself and I'm going to win this dang game.
Jabari Small did have that really nice run.
Yeah. He had a fine game. But
and that was it a receiving touchdown?
Yes.
Yeah.
When he's wide open on the sideline. And Dylan Sampson will get healthier. Those three guys should be fine. But I'm looking for the secondary. As much as everyone's hated on Warren Burrell, Warren Burrell is much needed in that secondary. Kamal Hadden, just all he's got is hands. It seems like it's not going well.
No, and that's what I was going to go for my biggest thing that I want them to do. For practice this week, they should just run third and 10 plus the entire practice and just practice that, because I think if they can just get better in third and long situations, because they're good at getting teams to third and long. Like, I feel like Florida had a lot of 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, even further than that. And on fourth down too, where they had long fourth downs and they just couldn't get off the field. So I think that's the number one thing that I'm looking for these next couple of weeks is, can you get off the field on 3rd and 4th down?
Absolutely correct, Bryson. And Tennessee will have a bye week, as we mentioned this week. Kind of take it easy before heading to Death Valley for an 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern kickoff time next Saturday on October 8th. Going to be a fun one down there. And Tennessee got pretty fortunate with this kickoff time. We all know Death Valley is a different monster at night than it is during the day. So Tennessee will get to attack LSU early in the day. We're going to take a break, hear a word from our sponsors, but we'll be back with who, Joseph?
Yeah, we have ESPN. We have ESPN reporter for the Tennessee Titans, Turron Davenport, joining us here into the second segment. Stay tuned. We're going to talk some Titans, talk about their early season struggles, about the big win against the Raiders yesterday, and a lot more Tennessee Titans and NFL coming up next.
Let's hit it.
Shout out MTSU beating Miami. That's major.
Yep. You know what? They got paid $1.5 million and only gave up 1.6 yards per run. That's a great way to do it. All right, we're going to head to break.
All right.
WUTK thanks Cool Beans, 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, sponsoring and hosting the Monday night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans is the pregame and postgame location for UT football and Knoxville's home for the NFL Sunday Ticket, Titans football on the big screen, and more. Rock Solid Sports kicks off Monday Night Football with the show's live broadcast from 7 to 8 Monday nights at Cool Beans. Cool Beans is 21 and over after 9 p.m. with a full and late night menu. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page.
They're playing basketball.
Volunteer Radio thanks the UT Athletic Department and the men's basketball program for their support. Coach Barnes' 8th season on the hardwood includes home games against Kentucky, Vandy, and more at Thompson Bowling Arena. General public ticket info for UT basketball is at allvols.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetickets.utk.edu. That's TIX. Volunteer Radio says Go Vols basketball.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
90.3 The Rock proudly brings Knoxville the best in new and classic, independent, and underground music on the Indie Owl. Monday nights from 8 to 10, hosted by former award-winning alumni from the WUTK Music Department and sponsored by Magnolia Records, 1515 North Central Avenue in Knoxville, and the Tomato Head Restaurant on Market Square and in the Gallery Shopping Center. Spinning cutting-edge music from around the world that pushes musical boundaries like noise pop, math rock, slowcore, shoegaze, garage rock, chamber pop, chill wave, and more. The Indie Owl brings you hard-to-find music from the artists that make it to the listeners who love it. The Indie Owl also provides independent artist news and chances to win Tomato Head and Magnolia Records gift cards. Tune in to Knoxville's true independent radio. The Indie Owl, Monday nights at 8, only on 90.3 The Rock, always bringing Knoxville new music first.
90.3 The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department for their support. Season tickets for the 2022 UT Volunteers football season are on sale now. The next phase of Neyland Stadium renovations will be ready for the new season with home games against Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, and more. Info at allvols.com. A link is at WUTKradio.com. 90.3 The Rock wishes Coach Heupel and the football Vols good luck this season on the gridiron.
The Rock thanks the Hill Bar and Grill for their support. The Hill on Forest Avenue is open 7 days a week at 11 a.m. until late night for dining indoors or on the expanded patio. The Hill has a variety of appetizers and a full menu of wings, burgers, tacos, and more. The Hill is our Thursday Munchie Madness sponsor and home of Friday's Rock Solid Sports. On Instagram at The Hill Knox. Menu at thehillknox.com.
The Rock thanks the Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2022-2023 home ice season from October through April includes games with SPHL rivals Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets are at KnoxvilleIceBears.com or 865-525-PUCK. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says, Go Ice Bears!
Volunteer Radio thanks our on-campus media partner, UTDailyBeacon.com, for their support. The Daily Beacon has served the University of Tennessee Knoxville as the official student editorially independent newspaper since 1906, featuring up-to-date campus and city news, sports, and info on UT and Knoxville events. And the sign-up for the Beacon newsletter is on the website. The Wednesday Daily Beacon is available at over 50 locations on campus, fall and spring semesters, and stories are published daily at UTDailyBeacon.com. The Daily Beacon sponsors WUTK's UT News and Issues show Rocky Top Roundup, Thursday nights at 7 on Volunteer Radio.
All right, everybody. Welcome back into the Monday show of Rock Solid Sports. We got a fantastic guest with us in the second segment. It's Turron Davenport of ESPN who covers the Titans. Turron, can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. Well, let's get into it, Joseph.
Well, first off, Turron, thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. We really appreciate it. And this season so far for Tennessee has been far from ideal. Obviously, they go 0-2, the blowout loss in Buffalo on Monday Night Football, but they get a bounce back win yesterday against the Raiders. So my first question to you is probably about what most people are concerned with about the Titans right now, and that's the offensive play calling. And just from your perspective, what do you think the biggest difference is in from that first drive or that first quarter and the rest of the game? Because it seems like it kind of falls off as the game goes along.
Yeah, well, it really falls off primarily in the second half. That's when a lot of the things happen. And I think, when you look at what's going on, they find some consistency early. They get away from what works for whatever reason, and that's not something they can continue to do.
Absolutely. And, talking about the Tennessee offense, I had a question about, the star player of the Tennessee offense, and that's Derrick Henry. Some seem to have been worried that Derrick Henry lost a step. The first 2 weeks just weren't the best for King, but then last week he kind of turned it around, looked good. I want to ask you, compared to the dominance we've seen from Derrick Henry over the past couple of years, do you think he may have lost a step a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the same just because a lot of the things that are happening, you're not seeing the home run type of carries that he normally has. And that messes things up a lot because, that's how, those negative carries, that's how they get offset with a 50-yard run, a 40-yard run, and the average goes up. So that's what you're not seeing. He's on the verge of doing it, but it's just not happening right now. And he continues to get hit at or behind the line of scrimmage an awful lot.
Do you think that's more on the injury he sustained last season or on the offensive line?
It has nothing to do with the injury he sustained last year. I think it's a combination of the line, timing, and it's just one of those things that they have to get into a rhythm. But you have to remember also, Derrick Henry typically is a guy that doesn't really pick up as far as hitting that stride that he normally hits until the season progresses.
Right. And so speaking on the offensive line, so this season, it's been a rough start for them, losing Taylor Lewan, obviously, last week. But there have been some shining spots. Like last week, they did play relatively well, given that they lost their left tackle just last week. And the rookie, Nicholas Petit-Frere, has looked really good. So what do you think that offensive line, what direction do you think they're going in?
Yeah, I think he had a really good game, Petit-Frere. I think he, was asked to take on Max Crosby at times by himself. Sometimes he got help. But, he held his own. It was a spin move, a couple inside moves that he was able to handle. And Crosby had a really good game, though. Don't get it twisted. But, a lot of that was when Petit-Frere was doing other things, as far as like having to block down or take other assignments. So I think he is a guy that should be the right tackle for quite some time. He's someone that I wouldn't look at flipping to the other side. Dennis Daly had a solid game, as Mike Vrabel said when he called him Double D. So those guys I think are in place. It's going to be interesting this week going against the Colts and, some of the things that they could do. You got Yannick Ngakoue there. So that'll be interesting going against him. He's a guy that has traditionally given the Titans some problems.
Yeah, and just kind of switching gears to the wide receiving core, what have you liked out of them, especially out of rookie Treylon Burks? And Robert Woods had a better game in week 3. So what do you think they're going to be doing for the rest of the season and how they've looked so far?
Yeah, it's going to continue to be a play-action passing attack. That's the one thing that they're able to work consistently. I think RPOs need to be mixed in. That was one of the plays where Robert Woods had a pretty solid game. I think it was like 18 yards or something like that on the RPO. And that was on the third down. So that really helped them there. And it's just, they just have to continue to be consistent. They're going to see one-on-one matchups. The teams are going to focus on stopping the rushing attack, 8 in the box. And those guys on the outside, they're going to get one-on-ones. And like Treylon Burks told me, he takes that personally. So that is something that he has to continue to do and beat it. And he's done that on multiple occasions.
And what's your thoughts about Ryan Tannehill, Turron? I mean, he hasn't looked as sharp as this season. Some Tennessee fans haven't been, the happiest with Ryan Tannehill. Do you think that Ryan Tannehill is still a good NFL quarterback and could be a good quarterback for the Tennessee Titans this season?
Yeah, I think he could be a good quarterback for the Titans. I mean, he's played well enough for them to win at least 2 games. Now, the Bills game, that was just a catastrophe all around. So he's one of those guys where you don't ask him to take everyone else and make them better. You build around him and allow him to facilitate. He's basically like a point guard, in basketball. And I think that's what he does, distributing the ball to everyone, making some of the big throws that he's asked to, but mostly just playing within the offense. And, he's a system quarterback, and that's fine. There have been plenty of really good system quarterbacks, so that's not, a bad thing that I'm calling him. And he just has to work on not turning the football over. And that's something that, it showed its ugly face against the Bills twice, but, it also showed against this past game against almost said Oakland, against the Raiders.
Absolutely. I love that comparison to a point guard. That's a great comparison for Ryan Tannehill. But so switch over to the tight ends. Obviously, a lot of the fans, particularly on Twitter, have drawn a lot of, or they've gotten very upset over the use of Jeff Swaim in a lot of crucial situations. And personnel as a whole has been a big issue, or at least from the fans' point of view, this season. So what do you think about the use of Jeff Swaim, particularly, but in general, just the way the personnel for the Titans have shaken out, and a lot of this, particularly in big passing downs. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, they have three tight ends that they use primarily: Okonkwo, Austin Hooper, and Swaim. And Swaim, for whatever reason, has stuck around and been a guy that they're going to continue to use. And he seems to be someone that Ryan Tannehill really trusts, especially in the red zone. And that's something that you saw happen on the play action pass where he was able to leak into the flat and caught the ball for an easy touchdown. So it's definitely there, the relationship, the connection. He is a guy they went to in the Giants game on some screens. And I think they're going to continue to involve him in the passing attack. And they feel that he's a really good blocker. I mean, he has had his moments, ups and downs there, but he seems to be the guy that they look at, as a tight end that's valuable to that role.
Turron, kind of looking big picture for the rest of the season. Obviously, when a team starts 0-2, there could start to be some locker room questions. Have you seen any maybe missteps in the culture in that locker room?
Mm-mm. No, none of that.
I mean, I get
quick answer.
Culture, yeah, that culture is too strong to even allow that to happen. They're not going to point fingers. And, these guys are in the locker room. They're still loose. No one is walking on eggshells or anything like that. They understand it's 0-2, right? It's not 0-17. It's 0-2. They have a really solid, big picture way of looking at things. Even though they condense it to week by week, they understand that the only game they need to be concerned about is the next game. And that was the approach coming in. They wanted to rally around each other. In fact, that was Mike Vrabel's message: rally around each other, not against each other.
And where do you think this went? Which it was a really important win for this team yesterday against the Raiders. Where do you think this turns this team now, heading into the AFC South, your first division game next week against the Colts?
Yeah, well, they are going against the Colts, and that's a team that Derrick Henry has traditionally done well against. Now, the thing that's going to be interesting with this one is, okay, A.J. Brown's not around this time to get the 100 yards rushing or 100 yards receiving if Henry doesn't get 100 yards rushing. He's not around to beat up on Xavier Rhodes the way he has in the past. So that is definitely something to watch. How is that passing game going to offset the rushing attack, and the effort to stop it? So they're in good spirits, though. Mike Vrabel is very relaxed, very laid back, jovial during his press conference today. And I think that's a tone that's going to filter over into the locker room. And they're looking to have a solid week of practice, and they're going against a team, that's coming off a big win over the Kansas City Chiefs.
And Turron, one guy I wanted to ask you about is Caleb Farley. He didn't really get a lot of playing time in the last game. What do you think his role is going to be on this team going forward?
Well, honestly, that's to be determined, and that's the big question. In fact, I wrote about that today for Publish Tomorrow, just what they're going to do about the cornerback situation, because they've invested a heavy amount of draft capital in that position, 2 second-round picks and 1 first-round pick. And I asked Mike Vrabel about that, and he said it's not a frustration level. He feels that whoever goes out there is going to go out there and kill it. So that lets you know where he is. But as far as Farley's concerned, there haven't been any specifics as far as what has happened, but it's been a rapid fall. He was a guy who was an all-season award winner. Training camp started. He was the starting cornerback opposite Christian Fulton. A week into camp, Roger McCreary's getting first-team reps. A week later, Caleb Farley is playing late in a preseason game, and McCreary's not even suiting up. So that lets you know right there.
And kind of staying on the defensive side of the ball with the pass rush. Obviously, Harold Landry goes out before the season even starts with the ACL. And then now Bud Dupree has been missing some time with a hip injury. What is your assessment of this Tennessee pass rush so far? Maybe Rashad Weaver, what he's done, Danico Autry, what he's been able to do, and just the unit as a whole.
Well, frankly, Autry has been their most consistent player in that front. And he's someone that continues to get pressure, continues to get into the backfield and disrupt things. And Jeffrey Simmons is doing his thing as well, but he got a little taken away in the Bills game, and he came back and he had a solid game last week. I think Weaver is another one, and for him, it's just a matter of him getting that endurance. He's playing a lot of snaps, and that's something that Harold Landry had to do. Before he got hurt, he had played 89% of the snaps over the last 3 or 4 years. Weaver is being asked to do something similar to that, and Mike Vrabel joked today about him, kind of getting tired because of all the reps, but that's a guy that has been outstanding for them, setting the edge well, getting to the quarterback and doing the things that he needs to do.
Titans a big win on Sunday against the Raiders to avoid going 0-3, and they'll have a big one this weekend again as they'll go to Indianapolis and try to beat the division foe. And Turron, I'm going to get you out here with this. The AFC is packed to the season. So much quarterback talent, so many good teams that are just going to beat up on one another. I feel like the AFC South is the worst division and is still definitely up for grabs for the Titans taking. So I'm going to ask you, do you think the Titans are a playoff team this year?
I think because of the division, yes, I think they are. And you look at the AFC South, and they had a good comeback this week, but before this week 3, collectively they had 1 win. So it's wide open. So I would say yes, just because the AFC South, that division title is their gateway to the playoffs.
Well, Turron, for Joseph, Bryson, and Riley, I'm Jack, and we appreciate you coming on. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, at @Davenport_NFL on Twitter. You can find me on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, anywhere you get your podcast. Search Talking with TD. And then you could also, obviously, ESPN.com, all over there, especially the NFL page.
All right, Turron, appreciate you hopping on with us tonight, and we'll catch you later.
All right, for sure. Have a good one.
You too. All right, people, we're going to take a quick break and hear another word from our sponsors, but we'll be back to talk some more NFL football and all that jazz. Right, Joseph?
That's right. When we come back, we're going to break down week 3, talk about the Monday Night Football game, and we might have a little Grizzlies news for you, so stay tuned.
All right here on 90.3 The Rock, Rock Solid Sports.
WUTK thanks Cool Beans, 1817 Lake Avenue, 1 block south of the Strip, for sponsoring and hosting the Monday Night Rock Solid Sports broadcast at 7 p.m. Cool Beans is the pregame and postgame location for UT football, and Knoxville's home for the NFL Sunday Ticket, Titans football on the big screen, and more. Rock Solid Sports kicks off Monday Night Football with the show's live broadcast from 7 to 8 Monday nights at Cool Beans. Cool Beans is 21 and over after 9 p.m. with a full and late night menu. CoolBeansBar.com or their Facebook page.
90.3 The Rock thanks the UT Athletic Department for their support. Season tickets for the 2022 UT Volunteers football season are on sale now. The next phase of Neyland Stadium renovations will be ready for the new season with home games against Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, and more. Info at allvols.com. A link is at WUTKradio.com. 90.3 The Rock wishes Coach Heupel and the football Vols good luck this season on the gridiron.
Support for WUTK comes from Fieldhouse Social, the modern sports bar next to campus at University Commons. Fieldhouse Social serves American craft fare such as burgers, wings, and more with high tops around the bar, a separate dining area, and a center lounge with leather chairs and couches in front of their 23-foot LED TV wall for Tennessee and pro sports. Fieldhouse Social is an outdoor patio with trivia twice a week and sponsors Wednesday's Rock Solid Sports. FieldhouseSocial.com.
Volunteer Radio thanks our on-campus media partner, UTDailyBeacon.com, for their support. The Daily Beacon has served the University of Tennessee Knoxville as the official student editorially independent newspaper since 1906, featuring up-to-date campus and city news, sports, and info on UT and Knoxville events. And the sign-up for the Beacon newsletter is on the website. The Wednesday Daily Beacon is available at over 50 locations on campus, fall and spring semesters, and stories are published daily at UTDailyBeacon.com. The Daily Beacon sponsors WUTK's UT News and Issues show, Rocky Top Roundup, Thursday nights at 7 on Volunteer Radio.
The Rock thanks the Knoxville Ice Bears Southern Professional Hockey League team for their support. Their 2022-2023 home ice season from October through April includes games with SPHL rivals Fayetteville, Huntsville, Roanoke, and more at the Civic Coliseum downtown. Single game and season tickets are at KnoxvilleIceBears.com or 865-525-PUCK. Rock Solid Sports features Ice Bears Wednesdays with news and updates. Volunteer Radio says, Go Ice Bears!
The Rock thanks the Hill Bar and Grill for their support. The Hill on Forest Avenue is open 7 days a week at 11 a.m. until late night for dining indoors or on the expanded patio. The Hill has a variety of appetizers and a full menu of wings, burgers, tacos, and more. The Hill is our Thursday Munchie Madness sponsor and home of Friday's Rock Solid Sports. On Instagram at The Hill Knox. Menu at thehillknox.com.
They're playing basketball.
Volunteer Radio thanks the UT Athletic Department and the men's basketball program for their support. Coach Barnes' 8th season on the hardwood includes home games against Kentucky, Vandy, and more at Thompson Bowling Arena. General public ticket info for UT basketball is at allvols.com. Student ticket info and login is at bigorangetickets.utk.edu. That's TIX. Volunteer Radio says Go Vols basketball.
90.3 The Rock proudly brings Knoxville the best in new and classic, independent, and underground music on the Indie Owl. Monday nights from 8 to 10, hosted by former award-winning alumni from the WUTK Music Department and sponsored by Magnolia Records, 1515 North Central Avenue in Knoxville, and the Tomato Head Restaurant on Market Square and in the Gallery Shopping Center. Spinning cutting-edge music from around the world that pushes musical boundaries like noise pop, math rock, slowcore, shoegaze, garage rock, chamber pop, chillwave, and more. The Indie Owl brings you hard-to-find music from the artists that make it to the listeners who love it. The Indie Owl also provides independent artist news and chances to win Tomato Head and Magnolia Records gift cards. Tune in to Knoxville's true independent radio. The Indie Owl, Monday nights at 8, only on 90.3 The Rock, always bringing Knoxville new music first.
All right, everybody. Welcome back into the Monday edition of Rock Solid Sports. We've had some fun so far through the first 45 minutes. This is going to be segment 3 of our Monday show. We talked some Vols Gators. We had Turron Davenport of ESPN on to talk some Titans after their win over the Raiders. And now we're going to talk some more NFL, as it was an exciting week 3, some upsets, some real good performances. But first, I'm going to kick it over to my guy, Bryson Wright, at our generous sponsor, Cool Beans. Bryson, how's it going, my friend?
It is going great over here at Cool Beans. We got some good music playing, good drinks, good food as always. Getting ready for this Monday night football game tonight, speaking of the NFL. So, yeah, just come on down to Cool Beans and you can have a great time watching some Monday night football.
Hopefully Monday night football is better than Sunday night football.
Yeah,
we all agree on that.
I freaking hope so. It would be pretty hard to be worse.
That game last night, you know what? Let's just go ahead and get it out of
let's rip off the Band-Aid.
Let's get it out of the way. 49ers Broncos, an 11-10 game.
Denver won. Jimmy Garoppolo had an 8-point turnover.
Pulled a Dan
Orlovsky, yeah.
And ran out the back of the end zone.
Did y'all see Orlovsky's tweet?
Oh, freedom. Where he said freedom?
Yes.
Oh my God,
He's
dude.
freed.
This game, Russ ain't cooking anything.
Nope.
The only reason the Broncos won is because Jimmy G threw probably one of the worst interceptions of the week that didn't come from Ryan Tannehill.
It was so bad.
It was he threw it to double coverage to Debo.
It was worse
and
than
he
Tannehill.
could have hit Debo, except he led him about 5 yards way too out and hit a Broncos defender right in the chest.
Yeah, and he missed Debo on what would have been touchdown.
Yeah.
He underthrew him. Jimmy Garoppolo was awful. Like, as bad as Russell Wilson was, I think Jimmy Garoppolo was worse.
Oh, I mean, anytime you have somebody who gets a safety and then proceeds to throw a pick six in the same play.
Yeah, that was nuts.
Like, I don't think I've ever seen that before. Like, and I know you talked about Dan Orlovsky tweeting that he's finally not alone. I think that Jimmy Garoppolo's might be worse because he still threw a pick afterwards. So, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it definitely is worse. I mean, the first 8-point turnover in history.
Dude, it
should have been 8 points for the Broncos.
It was.
Let's implement a rule.
It's an 8-point.
If you walk out the back of the end zone, then throw a pick six, it's 8 points for the other team, and they get ball.
And they get the ball. That was so bad. Look, this game was awful.
And look, I don't know if you guys. I was driving back from Nashville, so I was listening to Tirico and Collingsworth call the game. I was like listening to radio, right? And they were so depressed calling that game. There was no life.
I would be
in
too.
those two. It was. They were just like, it's 7-5 still. Back when it was 7-5 forever, it was hilarious to listen to them call that.
Yeah, and look, for both of these teams, when Trey Lance went down, in my opinion, the better quarterback was coming back into the starting role. I still believe that.
Yeah, this could have easily been.
But this just shows all the hype that the 49ers got in the preseason is overrated because they are not good. They are not that good of a team. Their defense has been
very good.
Their defense has been good, but their offense is just bad. They have no run game. I mean, they Elijah Mitchell went out.
Part of that's Elijah Mitchell.
They have no run game. Debo is the only wide receiver worth pretty much anything that gets attention. I mean, Juwan
Ayuk had a good game.
Ayuk had a decent game. He did catch a touchdown, but he doesn't get enough snaps. I mean,
yeah, he's just a guy. Let's be honest. And Juwan is an elite blocker, but again, as far as NFL caliber receiver and making game changing plays, it's not going to happen.
And then you look at Denver. Oh, Denver was supposed to compete with the Chiefs this year because of Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson has proceeded to not play good at all. We thought Russell Wilson through the first 6 weeks of the season was Hall of Fame caliber, and he has shown that Russ can't cook no more.
Well, let's take a step back because it's only been 3 games, and he's with a brand new head coach and a brand new system. He's been with Seattle.
An abysmal head coach. He's terrible.
Yeah, I don't think Hackett's good.
Hackett's bad.
I mean, I don't want to call him bad yet because it's only been 3 games.
Have you seen what he's done in those 3 games, though?
Yes.
It's been that first game.
I feel like that's an unfair assessment. I don't think he's a good head coach right now, but I think it's an unfair assessment to already just call it that he's a bad NFL coach. So Denver is going to get better. I just don't think they're going to be a playoff caliber team.
Oh, not at all. I mean, they're not. They're going to be last place in that division. Are they the worst?
No.
Are they the worst 2-win team?
I still think they're better than Vegas. And they got a 2-1 head start compared to Vegas.
Are they the worst 2-win team?
No, the Giants are.
Multiple win team.
The Giants are.
You still think the Giants are?
Yeah.
I think the Giants have a chance to change your mind tonight.
I mean, okay. We'll get into that game at the end. But maybe. Denver would win that game straight up.
All right.
But yes, Denver is not a very good football team. Russell Wilson didn't play in the preseason. That's obviously costing them. I don't know why he didn't. It's a new system. Get comfortable.
Stat, my dad just texted me while we're on air. Both punters outperformed their own offenses.
Yeah, it was an NFL record for most punts.
It was like
most punts.
I think
inside the 5.
I think it was three combined punts inside the 5. I think there was like 10 combined punts inside the 20. And not only that, I think each punter had like 300 yards of punt total.
Yeah, I can't remember the numbers, but both were like 7 or above, and I think one reached 10. I think Denver's punter reached 10.
Yeah, he did. It was just
yeah, it was something like that.
Because the Niners had more scoring drives.
What I'm saying is like I'm okay with the defensive battle, but I think that this really wasn't even a defensive battle. It was like an inept offense battle, and I think that was the problem because there were guys that were open and they were just dropping the ball or getting overthrown. Like, it wasn't even like the defense was making a ton of big plays. I just felt like the offenses were bad.
Yes.
All right, I have the numbers.
Okay, good.
For San Francisco, 7 punts for 362 yards. For Denver, 10 punts for 476 yards. Shout out my dad, Eric Bonanno, for the
Eric
stats.
Bonanno, the man. Nice. Yeah, this game was bad football. Bryson, you hit the nail on the head. It was more so bad offense than great defense. I feel like I'm in the minority of I kind of like a defensive slugfest sometimes, just dirty.
Sometimes.
Yeah, not all the time. I'm definitely more of an offensive guy.
Not on Sunday Night Football.
But then when it's prime time, that's more geared for Thursday or Monday night. Sunday night's supposed to be exciting,
Yeah.
You got the spotlight and everything. It's the biggest game of the week. And
I have a question for you guys.
Yo.
How many AFC West teams are making the playoffs?
2.
You think the Chargers are making it?
Yeah, they'll leak it out.
Oh, you know what?
Without Rashawn Slater,
we're
without Joey Bosa for a few games,
Yeah.
no Jalen Guyton.
They'll be okay.
We're talking
They got
about
Jason Herbert.
we're talking about the Chargers. I'm gonna give Jack a chance to shine right here. Jack, tell us what happened to the Chargers this week.
Yes, they got blasted by the Jacksonville Jaguars in their own house, 38-10.
Yeah,
28-point victory for Duval, and the Jags are the best team. Riley, I'm muting you. Bye-bye. The Jags are the. I actually did.
Look,
the Jags are the best team. No. You said you give me a chance.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Jags are the best team in the AFC South. Said it before. I'll say it again. Trevor Lawrence, the best quarterback in the AFC South. Dougie P has turned around this culture in Jacksonville, and they are playing elite football. They have a great front seven. Their secondary can use some work, but if they can get to the quarterback, they'll be okay. And James Robinson, Travis Etienne, great running back duo. I think James Robinson is the best, kept secret in the NFL, and their receiving core is underrated. So Jacksonville is a really good football team that's going to play a lot of tough games this season.
I agree with you. I think Doug Peterson has done a phenomenal job in Jacksonville, changing that culture around. And it's similar to what Mike Vrabel did when he came into Tennessee. I think you could see a similar kind of development for Jacksonville minus the quarterback switch.
You said the Titans. I think it's similar to what Heupel's done at Tennessee because Tennessee Titans were Mike Mularkey who took them to the playoffs. The Vols were in shambles. The Jags were in shambles. Both who had very inept former head coaches. Urban Meyer being arguably the worst experiment in NFL history.
Yeah,
the worst.
I mean,
but so bad.
Listen, I think Jacksonville is turning a corner. If they got a little more talented, I think they could really compete with the AFC. But right now, with the AFC South being like it is, they might not even have to. I mean, this division is completely wide open. But I want to focus on the Chargers for just a second. Justin Herbert obviously playing with some fractured ribs. He was advised, team trainers were told him not to play. He decided he was going to play anyways. Didn't have a great game. Didn't have a terrible game. A little over 50% on completions. 297 yards passing. A touchdown and an interception. He was only sacked one time. Even without Rashawn Slater, that's a big number right there. However, the receiving core is really, and the running game for the Chargers is what's hurting them.
It's weird.
Listen to this.
It's like
Sony Michel, 5 carries, 22 yards. Herbert, who I don't know his first name, but it's not Justin. Oh, no, it was Justin Herbert. Yeah,
it's got to be.
I was thinking of Khalil Herbert on Chicago. Justin Herbert, 1 for 7. Their prime running back, who's supposed to be this fantasy superstar, Austin Eckler, 4 carries for 5 yards.
It's weird. It's kind of like Denver, but a little worse, as in he's not getting a lot of reps rushing the ball, and I just think they're getting away from their identity a little bit.
Oh, they were one. And look, you look at the receiving; they're obviously hurting without Keenan Allen.
Yeah, they need their security blanket back.
And Mike Williams is getting all the attention right now. He had 1 catch for 15 yards. 6 targets. So Jacksonville locked them up.
Josh Palmer led the team in receiving.
Yeah, 6 receptions, 99 yards for Josh Palmer. And that's your wide receiver.
Eckler had the most receptions.
That's your wide receiver 3 right there. I mean,
they're the guy that kind of split wide receiver 3 time with Josh Palmer went down with an injury. Jalen Guyton did.
Yeah. I think the Chargers are in danger zone right now.
Okay. But yes,
time.
they're 1-2. Hey, guys, it's a 17-week season. They'll be okay. They got enough talent.
Injury-wise.
Yes, Rashawn Slater hurts.
I think they'll be okay, too.
Yeah,
I think they'll be okay, like you said. They just got to get healthy. If Justin Herbert is fully healthy, I think that's going to be the most important thing. He didn't look right. Like, you could tell that he was not 100% on Sunday. Like you said, they told him not to play. But I think if he gets healthy and if they can get Keenan Allen back, I think they'll be fine.
They need a bye week.
They're going to have to run the ball. They're going to have to run the ball at some point. Like, you can't win in the NFL if you just never run the ball. Like, even the Chiefs, who
are the team that throws the ball all the time, have always had a pretty, at least an okay running game to go with that.
Yeah.
You can't have no running game at all and expect to be good in the NFL.
Yes, it's something the Chargers are going to have to work on. They're 1-2, not looking good right now, third in the division. Let's move on to another AFC West team that lost to another AFC South team, and that's the Chiefs losing to the Colts in Indianapolis 17-20.
What a weird game.
Yeah. The unsportsmanlike call set the Colts up well to have that go-ahead scoring drive. Pat Mahomes throws the pick on the last.
Matt Ryan is probably the weirdest story right now. I mean,
Did he even play like that well this
No,
game?
I mean, he didn't.
No.
This is the thing. And neither did Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor he had 71 yards for 21 carries, no scores.
Well, we can talk about stats from position players all day. What was the time of possession?
Let me.
You see that quickly?
Yeah.
ESPN's weird sometimes.
I got it. Colts had 33 minutes and 32 seconds.
so it wasn't
Chiefs
that
had
bad.
26 minutes.
Yeah, it just felt like the Colts had the ball a lot.
But Matt Ryan, like, it's so weird. Like, he'll go and you can see he knows how to play football. He knows how to play this game, and he can make the plays. Just sometimes he just doesn't. It's really similar to Carson Wentz last year, because you saw last year with Carson Wentz and the Colts, he made some plays at times. He made some really big plays at times, and all of a sudden you would just see him just act like he forgot how to play football. I mean, Matt Ryan's doing the same thing. I mean, 2 fumbles in this game. I'm pretty sure he's got like 8 turnovers just by himself through the first 3 games of the season, which is not what you want from your quarterback at all.
Right.
And you know, the Colts somehow managed to win this game despite Matt Ryan, but I don't think that's a sustainable.
The Chiefs made way too many mistakes.
Yeah, I don't think that's sustainable at all.
Yeah, Travis Kelce dropped the touchane. They had the call. It was some error, just the missed field goal. Then they cut the kicker today.
Yeah,
so.
and the Chiefs have the Chiefs had the ball at the end of the game. They had a chance to win too, and just one of those days. But I still don't think the Colts are going to compete for the AFC South, because I mean they could because it's that bad. They can, but I just don't think they will.
We'll wrap up this game with this. The Colts are
I mean,
weird.
they're definitely going to compete for it. They're going to compete for it. I don't think that's the question.
And to what Bryson said.
It's going to be between the Titans, the Colts, and the Jaguars. I think all 3 of those teams have a chance to win the AFC South. No question.
Go to what Bryson said about the Chiefs always having a good ground game. They had, I think, 50-something rushing yards in this game.
58.
58. That's
23 carries for 58
I mean,
yards.
that's the biggest reason they lost this game. They were trying to do everything through the air. They're trying to have Patrick Mahomes do too much. And when Patrick Mahomes tries to do too much, he makes mistakes, like the interception he threw. So that's what it is.
Patrick Mahomes, 26 of those 58 yards on the ground.
There you go.
That cannot happen.
Yeah. Well, shout out the Colts for winning. That was a big win to avoid going 0-2-1. The Colts are weird. They were weird last year. They're going to be weird again. Maybe it's something Frank Reich is doing. I don't know. 3 quick shout outs for NFL teams. Congrats, Dolphins, beating the Bills. That's a tough thing to do.
Huge.
Major.
You had the punt safety or whatever, but the butt punt, but you still found a way to win.
Punt.
Bills clock management was awful. The offensive coordinator flipped the lid in the box. Shout out the Bengals for getting back on track and not dropping one to the Jets. And shout out the Falcons for not falconing when it looked like they were about to falcon. They actually beat the Seahawks.
Go Marcus.
That's got to be the greatest sentence I've ever heard.
It's precisely correct, too.
All right, guys, if you want more NFL content, Cover 4, us 4, Jack, myself, Riley, Bryson, comes out every Wednesday. We go more in depth on these games. We give you our locks of the week. Even though we're not doing too good on our picks or our locks, we're getting better. We're getting better. We're close to 500 this week.
We're going to be above 500.
I'm 500.
No.
I'm 7-8.
No, yeah, we're all 7-8. Except Bryson. Bryson had an off week this week. He's 6-9.
Shake my head. All right, what
I'm still above 500.
I've done better in week 1 and week 2 than all 3 of y'all. So I'm okay if I have one off week.
Joseph, aren't the Smokies going to the championship?
Smokies, Tennessee Smokies in Kodak. They are playing for a championship. They have 2 games to win. One tomorrow night at Kodak in Smokies Stadium, 7:15 p.m. Eastern time. If they win it, they win the whole thing. Ring time. If they lose, they have a chance on Wednesday too. Same time, 7:15. But hopefully they won't be able to go to Wednesday and they'll win it and be celebrating tomorrow night.
Would you get a ring, Joseph?
I will get a ring.
Let's go Smokes then, baby. For the boy, let's get Joseph a ring. For Riley, for Bryson, at our generous sponsor, Cool Beans, for Joseph Bonanno, I'm Jack Foster. Thanks for tuning into the Monday edition of Rock Solid Sports. We'll see you Wednesday.